Welcome to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast, your guide to future tech trends and innovation in a language you understand. Now, over to your host, Neil Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast. And a big hello to our good friend Alberto in Italy, who is probably listening to us now while running, but he did email back to say he's much happier with the slightly lower volume of my special jet transporter. So thanks for pointing it out, Alberto, and most importantly of all, of course, thanks for choosing this show to be the soundtrack of your run. As for anyone listening, I'd love to hear where you listen to the show, whether you're in the car, on the bus, hiking up a mountain, doing your household chores, whatever it is, I'd love to hear more about where and how you listen. And you can do that just by sending me a quick tweet at Neil C. Hughes or emailing me techblogwriter@outlook.com. Now, over the last few weeks, it seems that I'm reading more and more about voice technology, especially as it fills our lives with digital assistants such as Alexa, Siri, Google, and so many others. And we're carrying these expectations into the workplace now. And as a result, businesses are trying to adapt to this dramatic shift. For example, Amazon's Alexa business is projected to be worth $10 billion by 2020. And so many businesses are rushing to adopt voice apps just to keep up with that trend. But could they be letting themselves in for more than they actually bargained for? Tara Kelly, CEO of SPLICE Software, refers to this rapid but flawed adoption as blood in the streets. And she believes that many businesses are actually leaving the future of their business in the hands of a bot, creating a disconnect between the brand and the customer. Tara has been on the show before, and it's an absolute pleasure to get her back on the show today to share her insights. So buckle up and hold on tight as I beam your ears all the way to Calgary, Canada, so we can speak with Tara Kelly at SPLICE Software. So a massive warm welcome back to the show, Tara. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Hi, yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for having me back. My name is Tara Kelly, and I am president and founder of SPLICE Software. And SPLICE is focused on really creating a connection with customers using data and voice. We've been specializing in bringing emotion, tone, and relevance to voice for a long time.
Now, we last spoke on episode 209, way back in May 2017. But I know, where does the time go?
Exactly.
But I suspect and hope we have a few more listeners since then. So can you just tell the listeners a little bit more about the kind of problems you solve with SPLICE, and also what makes you guys unique from everything else out there?
Absolutely. So at SPLICE, we're really passionate about using data, not to be creepy, but to create connection. And I think we can all relate to that in our personal lives. If you went up to somebody and spouted a bunch of points of data, it would be very disconnecting. But if you were to say, hey, I remember you were launching this, and just more specific information really makes a difference. So we help retailers, insurance companies, and financial services. So it can be something simple like, we did receive your first notice of loss, and we're going to need additional photos before we can process it. That is a great call. It could be something like your car's ready for pickup, or worse yet, your car's not ready for pickup, and maybe you could keep your rental car, that kind of thing.
Now, I recently read that Amazon Alexa business is projected to be worth a whopping $10 billion by 2020. Yet with so many businesses rushing to adopt voice apps to keep up with this trend, many are actually missing the mark with brand voice. So when I read that you referred to this rapid but flawed adoption as blood in the streets, my spidey senses went off and I had to get you back on the show. So can you expand on what you meant by what you said and the reasons behind it?
Absolutely. So I think when you classically think about blood in the streets, it's a clash, right, of two groups, and it's getting really terrible for them, and people are dying. And I think what's happening is brands are dying in this rush to get out there. As human beings, we relate based on our senses, and voice is an important part of it. And it's not simply the data elements or the actual sentence that voice is speaking. It's how we speak to each other. I mean, I think it's so simple but true. Everyone always says it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And of course, what you say does matter, but the how you say it is enormous. And so brands, have worked for pick 2, 3, 5, 25, 40 years to establish a brand. And then they're going to go ahead and let Alexa, or they're going to go ahead and let Siri, or they're going to go ahead and let Google be that sole voice. And there's no differentiation in that. You're just letting all of that brand value bleed out into the streets. And by the time that you realize it's happened, you're going to be very late to a game to fight to try to get them to recognize you again. It's really a disaster.
And all of those digital assistants that you mentioned are already filling our homes and almost every aspect of our lives. But just to set the scene, I mean, how big a deal do you think that voice search is going to be? And do you think we're all going to slowly begin migrating across once we embrace the fact that it's quicker than tapping away on a keyboard or a smartphone screen?
I really do. So the stats would say that by 2020, we're going to be 50% voice search. And if you look at age categories, the 18 to 24-year-olds have adopted it the most aggressively. But the interesting thing is the other group is the over 45. And it is because it is so convenient. It is so effective. Now, I will first say, if you have a strong accent, it is not good for you yet, right? And it depends what kind of accent too. And so I do want to put a little bit of a caveat to that. However, I think it's going to be an enormously big deal. The other interesting thing is the adoption of these smart speakers has outpaced the iPhone by double. And access to a speaker when it's in the home is not typically one-to-one. A lot of people are putting them in their kitchens and in common family areas, creating massive availability to everybody in the home.
Wow, that's a fascinating fact, isn't it, there? Double that of the iPhone.
Correct. Yes. Yeah. And I think that it was really, I mean, in very many ways, thanks to the iPhone, because we started first talking to Siri, and that was probably one of the first ones that we started to gain that confidence. And now we just continue to go with it. And I recently saw a post, and it got a ton of chatter on LinkedIn. And the fellow was saying, e-commerce has been slower than they thought, and I don't know if this is really going to be a thing. And I think this is a fad. And I really just laughed to myself, and I thought, do we not know the human species? We are most efficient at speaking as a form of communication to one another. We don't just write each other's letters in our own home, right? We don't just write email. Look at how successful or unsuccessful organizations are that only communicate via email and they don't have the stand-up, right? The classic morning huddle, right? All of these things drive efficiency. They're fast facts and a verbal communication back and forth. And so as a species, this is one of our most efficient. And it's really interesting. We were just doing some research for my son who's going to go to university soon, and we were asking for tuition and also acceptance rates at some various colleges. And it was so fast to respond. And Google, hey Google, and it was unbelievable how easy it was for her to be part of our family conversation versus somebody having to type away at their computer and then getting a series of pop-ups and having a whole new feed, on my Instagram and Facebook after that. So there's a real convenience there right now because it allows you to focus on what you want. But keep in mind that data is being collected. And I think this is the other enormous part about the blood in the streets is, as a brand, do you really want Google and Amazon to be collecting everything about your customer and you got to go back and buy it from them? Like, is that really your vision of what the world is going to work like? And I think we've allowed it to some extent, for a while on the internet, but then we got to a place where we were able to, at least if they were on our site, know it ourselves first. And I think with all of these skills, it is shocking and horrifying for me. And I just can't believe how many people are not getting the individual analytics that they should back into their CRM, back into the CCM, so customer contact management system or customer relationship management system, about these interactions. And so if 50% of your interactions with your customer and your brand are going to be not brand right, they're going to be totally, just generic, and you're not even going to know the exchange or at least use it in decision making and bring it into your data feed, wow, there's definitely going to be blood in the streets. You are going to be leaking brand value and clients everywhere.
Wow. And on the other side of the coin, presumably businesses that have invested vast sums of cash and resources on SEO so they can proudly be on page one of Google, they could quickly become invisible in a new world where voice search is the new method of choice, isn't it?
100%. And I think voice SEO, is going to be very tricky, and it's going to follow some of the same algorithms, and we will build to pay to play. And you look at things like the buttons that Amazon first put out, right, for your washer, like reorder, what's our, laundry detergent that we're wanting. And that was very, very popular. But now if you were to ask, I need laundry detergent, if you're not specifying that brand, they will for you. And if you're just asking about, a certain jacket, if you're asking about insurance, you're going to see that. So there is a really, really important, moment here where people can join while it's still emerging, and they can grow and learn alongside the giants, because we're not in the jungle hacking through a bush anymore. We're driving on a gravel road. Maybe it's not perfectly paved, right? Maybe we don't actually understand and have the language processing for every accent. Maybe sometimes you hear that, I'm sorry, I don't know that one, right? Yikes. And you throw it across the room. Yeah. But I think it's the time to get there so that you're learning with them, because this SEO, as it moves to voice search engine optimization, is just going to be enormous. And if you have not created the analytics and the data feed in your organization to be able to use it, you're going to be doling out huge chunks of money while you're losing customers just to try to keep your brand. And it's going to be crazier than people think. It's growing really, really fast.
And it is incredibly complex, isn't it, as well? Because just asking for something as simple as laundry detergent or, I don't know, a slice of pizza, if you had 50 people in the room, they would all ask slightly differently, wouldn't they?
Correct. And so these intents matter so much. And so as you look at, when you build out a skill, and I won't get into the deep technical side on this one, but certainly both Amazon and Google Actions have really great websites for it if you're looking. So please go look there. But you can build out a series. And so it's been interesting because the AI provided with Google is able to do a lot of that cross comparison for you. With Amazon, you're still building out a lot of those possibilities yourself of how might somebody ask. But the cool thing is these are both, very bright companies with great teams. And the more we talk to it, the faster it learns. And so it's evolving very, very, very quickly. And this is where it kind of gets into that very powerful AI robotics where we say, oh my God, they're learning themselves, right? Machine learning. But it's really happening as we talk to it. We're training it very much the way we do in relationships. When your husband says to you, why don't we close the window? You know what I mean? And you're both sitting down, it's getting too gusty. And you're like, I know when you say we, mean me. Oh, yeah. And so there's these learnings that happen, but these artificial intelligence, within both of the organizations are quickly learning. Natural language processing is just getting faster and faster because we're able to create a data structure that allows us to really start learning.
When I was on holiday recently, I was listening to the audiobook of Gary Vaynerchuk. I think it's Crushing It. And he was saying that people keep chasing how to be big on a platform once it already is big, such as YouTube, Instagram, etc. But what is big tomorrow is going to be voice search. And that's how businesses and individuals are going to get ahead of the game, by getting on it early. I mean, do you think voice will really live up to its promise?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think I referred to it when I got on. Human beings, we speak. We have languages. We had many languages. We've always kept languages. It is how we communicate. I think it's going to be larger than people realize. I think it's going to catch people by surprise. I certainly recognize the need for privacy, and with a constantly online world, there's going to be many times where voice isn't the right decision. When you're on a crowded train, when you're at the bank waiting in line, if you still do that because you're crazy. But if you look, like last time I was on the train and I was just taking it to the Sea Link down to the airport in Chicago, when you look at how many people were just busily chatting, right, in front of everyone. And so I think people are not afraid to share. People are going to use it even more than you think. And so, yes, I do. I think that it's going to be probably still even yet bigger than what people realize. If you look at how much that smartphone has changed our lives, and then you look at the fact that adoption of these smart speakers or voice first devices, take your pick, is growing at double the rate. I can't see anybody who can honestly stand there and say, well, I think this whole speaking thing is a temporary trend. Like, look at podcasts. When radio started to die, podcasts are exploding. Congratulations. I know your show is also doing really well, but podcasts in general are exploding because this is the creature we are. We are auditory, and visual is fantastic. That's one of the reasons we love video, but human beings are auditory, and it's not this whole speaking thing. It's not going away.
That can only be a good thing as well. I mean, just the conversation that we're having now is going to be listened to in 165 different countries, and people are going to be listening, taking away facts and forming their own opinions and then talking to other people. It's a beautiful thing, isn't it?
It really is a beautiful thing. And I think when you talk about a beautiful thing, there is so much opportunity to create connection. There's so many things where we want to have a little bit more time, where we want to make the difference. And so you look at what voice can do. You know, I gave you a lot of examples of where we make money today, because saving money or making money is always, you know, the best place to get your business started. It's easiest. But there's also, you know, secondary projects that in the end save tons of money and, more importantly, save lives. So things like reminding an Alzheimer's patient to take their medication in a voice and a tone that's relevant, that perhaps is in matching with the town that they grew up in, or something that aligns with a family dialect. We're looking at a project right now with Fraunhofer Institution in Germany, where we're using different matching tones to either their family or their town, and creating a really fantastic research model to determine that effect. And if we could use what's happening in the connected home and voice first devices and listening devices and the different monitoring like Philips or Honeywell and some of these players, and I could say, wow, you know, she hasn't ran her bath today yet. This is a problem. I know this, right? What does that mean? Let's send a reminder. Her wearable device is sending us a signal. So once we can create a humanized experience, and once we are able to move past just the fact that the data is enough, I think there is tremendous opportunity for humanity as a whole to really take care of each other better, and to be able to really be there a little better in those moments. And of course, you know, continue real human contact. But there is an immense opportunity to increase the level of care by really humanizing so many of these digital processes today.
It really is an exciting space to be working in at the moment. But what's next for you and Splice? Is there anything else you can share with me today about what you've got on the road ahead?
Absolutely. So this research that we're doing and this project that we're launching, we're super excited. We call it Evie. It's quite amazing. We're also launching SynthIA, and SynthIA is an amazing platform that will allow other users to have the same technology we've had here at Splice for all these years, and that is to build conversations that are a little bit more humanized. So it's an online platform, it's a cloud platform that will allow people to come in and build those conversations and choose from a series of libraries or their own automated voice and tie it through, but bring in emotion, tone, dialect, all of it to really create that right brand experience. Because at the end of the day, with a space that's growing this fast, Splice definitely can't build enough skills or build enough audio or build enough of this to keep everybody happy. And so we really thought the best way to match the momentum was to take our platform and start licensing it for the use with others. And we're incredibly excited about that. Splice is a 12-year-old company. We have, 4 different patents in the voice area. And here we are saying, you know what, let's go from this managed service offering with our technology platform and license it to the world. And we're incredibly excited about it. We're going to back it with even more science, like this, research coming out of Fraunhofer. But I think these conversations are going to become much more human, and brands are going to come to life, and people are going to feel that sense of connection and loyalty. So we're really excited, very excited. We're looking for beta users. Beta users start in the end of October. So it's just around the corner. So I guess that's a little early sneak peek for you. But it's coming. So SynthIA with intelligent audio. So we spell her name with a S and end it with a capital IA. And we're very excited about what that can do to really reach more people in a brand right, emotionally relevant way as you build those beautiful data-driven dialogues that ultimately are human conversations.
Now, listening to you there, I suspect there's going to be more than a few business leaders listening all over the world. They set off a few alarm bells with the vision of the future, and for a good reason too. So can you just remind the listeners of where they can find you online, and also maybe contact a member of your team if they have any questions or just want to carry on that conversation we started today? Yeah,
that would be fantastic. So we are at SPLICEsoftware.com, so www.SPLICEsoftware.com. You can also search for SynthIA, and like like SPLICE. We spell her name with an S, and she represents a platform that allows you to create the conversation. So SYNTH and then capital IA for intelligent audio. And we really believe in all those little meta tags that belong, just like they do in SEO, so that all that data can come back to your CRM system or your CCM. And of course, 1-800 numbers on our website. So talk to us about it. Let us know. We are actively looking for those beta users. And if you'd like to be one of them, we'd love to hear from you. What a great opportunity. Thanks for allowing me to plug that. But I think giving people access to create a brand right, more emotionally relevant voice experience is really great for humanity. And I think people that are serious about keeping that brand capital where it should be and maintaining it and growing it, you just don't want to, unless you're Amazon, why is Alexa the voice of your brand? It's just not right.
It really isn't. I'm still trying to get over the fact that you mentioned about the double speed of adoption of the iPhone, which shows you just how quickly it's changing. And I also read another quote recently that said the speed of hyperchange that we're in at the moment has never been this fast before. But equally, it's never going to be this slow again. That's real food for thought, as has been your conversation today. So as always, a big thank you for coming on, Tara. And who knows, maybe this speaking thing will catch on.
Perfect. Thank you so much for having me today. It's excellent touching base. I'm excited to see where we're going. We may just keep on speaking.
It really was great catching up with Tara. And if you are in any way curious about voice search and the road ahead, please get in contact with her. I've spoken with hundreds of guests on this show, and Tara is always super easy and fun to talk to. And I love her passion for this emerging space. And so much of what she said resonated with me today. Both myself and I suspect most people listening have already asked a digital assistant a question at some point. And it seems that we're all getting much, much more comfortable with talking to devices and have lost that awkward self-conscious thing that we used to have. And kids especially will soon be looking at us with our quaint keyboard and smart screen tapping ways and say, it's easier just to ask Google or Siri or Alexa. It's not a case of if that will happen, but when. And businesses need to prepare for it. But carefully. Now over to you. What are your experiences? Has your nephew given you a head shake of shame when you Googled something the old-fashioned way? Or do you have an opinion on how voice will affect the digital landscape and the world of business? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this one. So email me techblogwriter@outlook.com or tweet me at Neil C. Hughes. So a big thank you for Tara for her insight on how to implement an on-brand voice and messaging within voice apps and how to avoid further bloodshed. And of course, last but by no means least, a special thank you to each and every one of you for tuning in. And until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thanks for listening to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast. Until next time, remember, technology is best when it brings people together.